Forget about the McLandcruiser, forget about the Costco Cruiser. The real Land Cruiser's coming to America soon. I'm talking about the Lexus LX700H. Yes, it's coming to America. It is triple locked. Yes, a front locker on a Lexus. Triple lock, front, center, and rear locker. It's coming to the Lexus LX700H. Also, third row in an overtrail trim. Forget about the Lexus GX 550 overtrail. The Lexus LX700H overtrail is going to come with your third row, and it's going to be triple locked. And guess what? It's coming with something new, a transmission skid plate. No joke. The Lexus LX700H and its overtrail is going to get a transmission skid. That is important because the first thing we did on this Lexus GX 460 at 2,000 miles was high center on the automatic transmission oil pan. So everything is protected under this class of Toyota vehicle, and I'm talking about Land Cruisers, whether we're talking about the FJ, the Landcruiser Prado, or the full-size Land Cruiser. This whole family of Toyota SUVs has got the transmission oil pan always just hanging out there exposed. And with the Lexus LX700H, they have announced that they're putting on a transmission skid plate on it. So no, the engine is not the issue. The engine oil pan is fine. That engine's tucked under there pretty good. You're never ever going to bash your Land Cruiser or Prado, whatever, this generation of GX. You're never going to mess up the engine oil pan. It's always going to be that low-hanging fruit of the front differential and or the transmission, the low-hanging transmission. But anyway, Toyota is listening. Toyota and Lexus are listening, and that Lexus is going to be triple locked with a factory transmission skid. If you don't know about 4Runners and GXs and FJs and Prados and Land Cruisers, they already come with factory skids. No, they're not painted neon red and aluminum color like a TRD Pro. These things come fully skidded right out of the factory, except for that transmission skid. And even in some markets, you get a full-on, full gas tank skid. And these skids are no joke. They are sheet metal, but we've bashed ours, and they work. They're lightweight, they're effective, they're tough, period, end of story. So the LX700H is going to give you that transmission skid. It's also going to give you about 50 more horsepower and 100 more foot-pounds of torque versus the outgoing Lexus LX600. So way more power. So this is going to be the closest thing we can get to the real Land Cruiser. I know that triggers some people when they hear, what do you mean real Land Cruiser? The McLandcruiser, the McLandcruiser 250 is a Land Cruiser. I don't blah, blah, blah. Nope, that's not true. That's not the flagship Land Cruiser. Everybody in the world market knows that the Landcruiser 300 GR Sport is the flagship Land Cruiser. It's got a twin-turbo V6, 10-speed transmission. It's got all the off-road features and Lexus-level luxury. And so with that said, the Landcruiser 250 is a watered-down version of that, period. The frames are different. It's not the same frames. There's not as many bump stops. The Landcruiser 300 GR Sport has 2 in the front. The Landcruiser 250 only has 1. The frame is thinner. The list goes on. It's not the same frame. The Lexus LX700H, which is coming out soon, is the real deal Landcruiser 300 GR Sport frame. You get those 2 bump stops in the front and much thicker frame all around. So it is the real deal. In addition, the 700H is going to have more power, as mentioned, than the Landcruiser, the flagship Landcruiser 300 GR Sport. So in America, we're going to get the most powerful real deal Land Cruiser that you can get, and you can get a third row, and you get a transmission skid on top of all the other skids. Now, do I need to mention what else comes with it? It has everything, okay? So if you have a McLandcruiser and you're like, what is he talking about? I get everything in my, no, you don't. Okay, the Landcruiser 300 GR Sport has everything, okay? And the Lexus 700H is going to have that Lexus level interior, which the Landcruiser 300 GR Sport also has, and all of the off-road features except one, and that is EKDSS. And this, in my opinion, is where Lexus dropped the ball. They should have just went all out and given us Here in America, the EKDSS, that's disconnectable front and rear sway bars, if I haven't mentioned that. The Landcruiser 300GR Sport has it, and the Lexus LX700H, despite all the other stuff in its over-trail trim, will not have it. It's going to have everything else: adjustable dampers, AHC, which is height control. That's not a replacement for disconnectable sway bars, but it's going to have electronic height control. It's going to have adaptable suspension made by KYB, which is the top best Japanese shock supplier. It's literally electronic valving inside the shock that you can physically adjust the amount of oil flow that goes through the shock. So the whole thing's loaded. MTS, crawl control, all your modes, blah, blah, blah. It's all there. Lexus level interior, 3 rows, it's all there. Blah, blah, blah. The only thing missing is, again, that EKDSS, and that's where I think Lexus, again, dropped the ball. The other place they dropped the ball, and this is across all Lexus and Toyota models, but especially with Lexus, is their abysmal attempt, their attempt to keep the stupid front beak on the Lexus off-road models, such as this GX. I'm talking about the approach angle. It's ruined. And they continue in current generations. I'm talking about the LX600, the GX550 over trail, and this Lexus LX700H that we're talking about now. The approach angle is horrible, and Lexus has got to figure this out, because it's tiring to have to cut the bumper to gain approach angle that should just be automatic. We shouldn't have to pay, you know, $100,000, you know, $130,000, $150,000 for a Lexus LX700H and then have to cut the bumper. This thing right out of the box should have a better approach angle. In other words, the stupid front bumper should be a lot shorter. And that's something that Lexus, I hope, will figure out in the future, and it'll be fixed. All right, we got a traffic jam here. Anyway, aside from that obvious stuff, and when I say obvious, it has been obvious that for forever the generations of whatever, 4Runner, Lexus, Landcruisers, they've all had horrible approach angles. They're not like Jeep Wranglers. They're not like you know, the Ineos Grenadier or Mercedes G-Wagon, where they just right out of the bat they give you approach angles. Suzuki Jimny, etc. That's the only place Lexus and Toyota continue to consciously screw up. They know full and dang well what an approach angle is. They just refuse to actually honor it. Let's go this way. They actually refuse to actually do it. And they did it on the FJ Cruiser. So when we look at the old Toyota FJ Cruiser, again, based on the Landcruiser Prado platform that this Lexus GX460 is based off of, that approach angle on that Toyota FJ Cruiser is excellent. It is phenomenal. Toyota knows how to do that factory. They could do that on their new Landcruisers. They could do that on the Lexus LX700 that we're talking about here. They could do it on the GX450. But they don't. They insist on putting their language design nonsense, which completely botches the approach angle. So is the Lexus LX700 a perfect vehicle? Of course not. But it's close to perfect insofar as what this class of vehicle is trying to accomplish, and that is simply Landcruiser stuff, which is, you know, going off-road in luxury and having the, you know, the best off-road features. So I think a lot of people are going to be excited about the 700H, but Lexus still needs to give us the disconnectable front and rear sway bars, at least as an option. This will probably come in the future, you know, next year's or the following year, 2026 model or whatever. They'll probably play around with the trends, but for now, this is what we get. This is the closest thing to the real Landcruiser. Your Landcruiser 250 is without a doubt an excellent vehicle, and I'm not knocking it. It is not, however, objectively the flagship Landcruiser by any stretch of the imagination or by any means. So what is a real Landcruiser? And the truth be told is that it depends on what part of the world you're in and who you ask. In parts of Africa and Eastern Europe, The real Landcruiser to them is the heavy-duty Landcruiser 70 series with its solid axle, which gets about double the payload of any other Landcruiser. If you ask someone in Western Europe, the real Landcruiser is the Landcruiser Prado. In fact, they don't get the flagship Landcruiser over there. They didn't get the 200 series Landcruiser. They got the Landcruiser Prado 150, and it was rebranded as simply the Landcruiser over there. And in some parts of the world, the Landcruiser and Landcruiser Prado, like this Lexus GX 460, are considered both to be real Landcruisers. The reality is, here in America, and from an American perspective, Toyota's Landcruiser in America has always been two things. You get all the off-road stuff and you get all the luxury. That is the Toyota Landcruiser experience. So with that historical context in mind, we can clearly see that the Landcruiser 250 deletes a lot of stuff, a lot of off-road stuff, and a lot of luxury stuff that has traditionally been part of the American Landcruiser experience. Toyota bought the Landcruiser 250, aka the American spec Landcruiser, aka the McLandcruiser Costco Cruiser. They bought that to America for cost cuttings. There's no way around that. It's not secretive. They have openly said, we're bringing Americans a low-cost Landcruiser, and so hence all the jokes about, the tongue-in-cheek jokes, and it's all just tongue-in-cheek. It's all good, but it's not the same as the Landcruiser 300 in the world market. The 700H is going to be the closest thing that Americans are going to be able to get to Landcruiser 300GR Sport. Period. And it's got more power, so you can make an argument there that it gives you more than the world market flagship Landcruiser 300. Now, will in the future all the other features be added? Most likely. What about the GX 550? Are they going to fix that? Are they going to add the front locker to that? Are they going to add the third row to the Overtrail in the GX 550? Probably. Again, they're going to update throughout the years. There's no solid information, but Lexus with the GX 550 will probably add a thing or two to keep the models fresh, and we already know what they're going to add because we already know what they took away from the flagship Landcruiser 300JR Sport. The third row needs to go back. There's no reason it can't be in there, even with the hybrid battery that the 700H is going to have. It has a hybrid battery, but it's still going to have a third row in its Overtrail trim. Toyota can throw everything at you. They're just choosing to cherry pick and pick and choose what features they want to add and not add based on whatever market ideology or market plan that they have going on, and that's their business. But I really wish Toyota would at least bring the Landcruiser 300GR Sport as a Lexus vehicle to Americans who are not concerned with the price tag and just want all the features. We get it. When we're shopping for a Lexus, we know we're not in a Kia dealership and we're not looking for a value. We're not looking for the Landcruiser 250 McLandcruiser with its cheap interior, or the Lexus GX 550 Overtrail with its cheap Toyota level interior so I can save a few $1,000s. That's not why anybody's walking around a Lexus dealership. So Toyota failed with the old Landcruiser 200. They said, well, nobody bought the old Landcruiser 200 because it was too expensive. That's not true. They didn't buy it because Toyota didn't do any dang advertising on what the Landcruiser 200, that's the last generation real flagship Landcruiser in America. People didn't even know it was for sale, and sales were slow because they didn't advertise it. They didn't say what all the traction controls can do. They didn't say anything about A-Track. And so people saw it as just an overpriced soccer mommy mobile, and they dismissed it as just that, an overpriced, why am I going to pay, back then, $100,000 in whatever, 2015 money, why am I going to pay $100,000 just to get a Toyota SUV? What is it? They didn't even understand what it could or couldn't do because of the abysmal marketing. Now that's changed, but I would like Toyota to consider, and Lexus to consider, that you can sell these things if you just market them. You forgot to tell anybody what the Landcruiser 200 is, and people still to this day don't understand A-Track and traction control, and they start bleeding the same things about lockers, and turn the traction control off, lockers and turn the traction control off. Okay, so there is some responsibility on Toyota for failing, for low Landcruiser sales. Thankfully, that's changed with the LandCruiser, or excuse me, the GX550 Overtrail Plus. They're marketing that heavily as an off-road oriented vehicle and showing off what A-Track and traction control and all this stuff can do. And they'll probably do the same to some extent to the Lexus LX700H that we're talking about here today. Now, will that drive sales? Who knows? It doesn't matter what Toyota's, they can do whatever they want. But between us Toyota and Lexus nerds that are on this channel, it's probably highly likely that we're going to see a full-on LandCruiser 300 GR Sport with more power, so even better, by probably 2026. After this 25 model, they're going to add EKDSS to that 700H Overtrail, and that's it. You're going to have your LandCruiser 300 GR Sport back in America. All you're going to have to do is do the normal Toyota SUV mods, which is chop the bumper, add your skids, and add your tires or whatever the heck else you want, and you're good to go.